Hi, everyone, and welcome to Meet the Graduate, where we hear from different graduates on how they've approached their career after university. Today, we're joined by one of our own, Molly, to talk about her journey from graduation up until now. Molly, thanks for joining us. Obviously, I work with you every day, but it's really nice to hear your side of the story and see you on the other side of the camera. How
Yeah,
are you doing?
good, thank you. So fun but weird to be on the other end of this. So
Yeah, you're in the hot seat.
yeah.
So just to get into things, can we start off with the basics and find out a little bit more about you? Can you tell us when did you graduate, what did you study, and what are you doing now?
Yeah, of course. So hi everyone again. I'm Molly. You might recognize me from other Meet the Graduate episodes. So I work here at Job Teaser as a student communications coordinator, but I actually only graduated a year ago. I went to the University of Edinburgh and did French and Spanish and graduated in 2019. And previously at Job Teaser, I was also an events coordinator. So I don't know if anyone from the UK universities are watching who may have seen me at careers fair, but that was what my job entailed before. And now, like I said, I'm student communications. So doing things like Meet the Graduate and other video content and written content across the platform. So yeah, that's the basics of me.
Nice. It sounds like you've done a lot. How did you feel about your career before you graduated?
Yeah, so being completely honest and candid, like I always ask my guests to be, I really buried my head in the sand before graduating. I was really sad about university coming to an end. I really enjoyed my time there. And I had no, apart from hospitality, which was great life and work experience, but I had no formal kind of office work experience. I hadn't done any internship. So I had no idea where I wanted my career to go. And yeah, that paired with the fact that I didn't want university to end made it quite a scary time for me. I was quite overwhelmed. A lot of my friends and my peers were applying for graduate schemes across a range of industries and other kind of long-term graduate positions, which I didn't do. And so I did feel a little bit left out in that sense as well. And having done a language degree, I was quite interested in going abroad again. I'd lived abroad as part of my degree. So I was kind of basically, as you can see, I was kind of all over the place, but mostly just really unsure of my next steps and yeah, just really unsure of where I was going next.
But with all your friends taking up and doing grad schemes, how come you didn't go down that path?
Yeah, so for me, it was mostly about commitment. So I wasn't, like I said, I was interested in living abroad and interested in maybe traveling a bit. So I didn't feel as though I could commit to a 2-year grad scheme or a 1-year grad scheme, even though obviously there's so many benefits to doing grad scheme. That's such an important thing to do. That's such a good way of gaining experience in an industry, but I just felt like I couldn't commit. And also because I hadn't done any internships and I hadn't tried out any jobs yet, I didn't even know where to start. I didn't even know what kind of grad scheme I would be interested in or what ones to apply to. And they take up a lot of time and energy to apply to. So I didn't feel like I was in a position where I could apply to loads and loads and loads of grad schemes. And I didn't think that was the right step for me anyway. So yeah, I guess a mixture of lack of knowing what I wanted to do and also not wanting to commit to a more long-term process.
So what did your journey look like then once you graduated? How did you find your current job?
Yeah, so I graduated, cried my eyes out that uni was over, and then decided it was time for me to look for a job. So applied for a few different things, nothing that was really particularly suited to my skill set, probably, if I'm being honest. But then actually my mum, who volunteers, met someone volunteering who then became my manager, spoiler, who said she was looking for an intern. And so my mum told me about the job. It looked great. It involved a bit of traveling in the UK. It involved meeting new people. It was an education sector, which was meant that I didn't have to kind of throw myself completely out of my comfort zone. And yeah, it just seemed like something that I would be interested in doing. So yeah, ended up applying for that, but kind of had no idea what I was getting myself into at the same time. And it was an internship, like I said, so it was a 3-month contract, which also appealed to me.
Yeah, I guess a kind of a 3-month stint seems a little less daunting. It's like dipping your toe in the water.
Yeah, completely.
And that really highlights, I think it's interesting how it shows how I think sometimes people don't think to tap into their immediate network. Like if you tell your friends and your family, like, hey, I'm looking for work, I'm kind of open to any kind of opportunities that come my way, then, just through word of mouth, people could be chatting to, someone they're volunteering with or someone else they work with. And people are always usually willing to kind of help out.
Yeah, especially when you're a graduate, like you might as well tell as many people as possible that you're looking for a job or you're looking to make a move in your career, because exactly, you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah. And I think it's better to sometimes it's easier to use that network than to just be scrolling through postings all day online. It can be kind of overwhelming.
Yeah, and your friends and family know you, so they're more likely to recommend something that they think you might find interesting or that you might enjoy, rather than you kind of just jumping in at the deep end. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So how did you end up feeling about that fixed term contract? Did it end at 3 months?
Yeah, so it didn't end at 3 months. So I kind of went into it with a win-win attitude. So I was like, either it's 3 months and I love it and it will show me something that I'm really passionate about, and then I've got 3 months experience in something I care about, or it's 3 months and I don't enjoy it and it's not what I want to do, but it's only 3 months. So I gained some experience anyway. I'll obviously have learned things, but I won't have, I won't be locked down in doing something that I don't enjoy. So that's kind of my mentality as I went into it. Luckily, I ended up really enjoying what I was doing and really enjoying the company and everything that I was learning and the environment and everything like that. So it did get extended for another 3 months. So it was a 6-month contract. I then went traveling and then had to come home and traveling because of Corona, unfortunately, and then came back in a slightly different role. So a bit of a weird up and down career journey, as in kind of a bit disjointed, but yeah, because I decided to kind of embrace joining the company and embrace the 3 month thing and just put all my effort into the 3 months and try and, do my best over the time period. It meant that, I was really lucky to have been kept on for a few months afterwards. So yeah, that was my kind of experience of fixed term.
But I think that's a really good kind of lesson in that. I think a lot of the times if you do an internship, you have that flexibility to kind of stay on if you want to, if they do like you and like the work that you've done. So if you give it your all, then it might lead to a full-time job. So
Yeah,
it's kind of
completely.
worth that gamble, or worth trying, definitely. So how did you find adjusting to the world of work? Did any of your fears come true?
Yeah, so like I said, pre-graduation, I was quite scared and overwhelmed by the idea of working. I didn't think that it would really suit me or my personality, which is, now I look back, quite, not to be rude to my past self, but quite silly, because there's space in the working world for everyone, no matter kind of the person that you are or what you care about and things. So none of my fears came true, luckily. I kind of expected to walk into an office situation or a professional situation, not necessarily an office, and feel like an outsider and feel like I didn't know what I was doing, and that everyone expected me to do things that I didn't know. I don't know why I thought this, I just did. But it turns out, just like, it makes sense that everyone knows that you're a graduate. They know that you're not, you haven't had 10 years of work experience. They know that you might not understand everything, or you might need clarification on things, and they're actually just really eager to help you. It kind of feels like when you're in your final year and you see a fresher or you see a first year around and you think, oh, I remember what it was like to be you. Like, oh, I wish I could. I mean, you don't necessarily go up and help them, but you think if they asked me for help, you'd obviously give it. Hope that weird comparison made sense. But yeah, it's just, it wasn't as scary as I thought it was going to be. It wasn't as overwhelming as I thought it was going to be. And I feel like I learned so much so quickly because I was, really supported, and because I just decided to throw my fears to one side and just kind of go for it. But also then my fears didn't end up actually happening anyway. So there was no need for me to be so scared in the first place. So yeah, it was, a really positive experience.
Yeah, that's good. I think the fear of failure can really hold people back sometimes from taking steps that they need to. But once you take that first step, then you realize that it's not as bad as you thought. Obviously, if you do choose a good company where your managers are it's a good environment to learn.
Yeah, for sure.
So, what skills would you say you gained during your first job?
Yeah, so this question I always throw on people, now being thrown back at me. No, I'm joking. I would say So the skills that I learned that I kind of expected to learn were mostly soft skills. So I thought that I would learn, or be able to develop my communication skills. I learned how to communicate with loads of different people. So be that your immediate colleagues, your wider team, your clients, whoever that may be, you learn to communicate, which was something that I was quite worried about, because that was something that I think was scaring me in the first place, because I was like, I don't know how to talk to people in a professional way. I don't know how to, communicate with a wider group of people necessarily. I'd obviously done teamwork before and communicated before, but not in professional settings. So that was something I think you can only really learn through experience. And I felt like that was something I learned from day one. I obviously also really developed like general teamwork skills, general just like getting on with people and working with loads of new people at the same time, in a setting you might not be used to. So those were two big soft skills that I was expecting to improve on, and thankfully did. And then I improved on a bunch of other things like presentations and writing skills and all of that kind of stuff. And then for things I wasn't expecting to learn necessarily were quite a lot of hard skills, or like what's the word, like training. So I actually got trained on loads of different programs, like design software and statistics software and data software, and like Salesforce, which is like it's a kind of an all-in-one tool for loads of different things to do with like sales and marketing and stuff. And then also improved like my Excel skills and my Microsoft PowerPoint skills, like all these little, or not, they're not so little, but all these kind of skills and trainings that I didn't expect to learn, but then you learn, and you can just add them to your skill set, and it kind of gives you the confidence. Like it's quite a nice feeling of satisfaction to be like, okay, I've improved on my communication, I've improved on my teamwork, but I've also learned like this range of skills that I can take with me into my next job. So yeah, those are the skills that I feel like I really really improved on, and ones that I was like really thankful to be able to improve on as well.
Yeah, it's so satisfying as well when like suddenly you can do things that you couldn't do before. You're
Yeah,
like, help me.
I know, because I always loved, like, I like learning. Like I liked uni so much because I enjoyed learning, and I liked school and learning and stuff, but I didn't expect to get that satisfaction in the workplace. But yeah, you 100% do.
Yeah, and the great thing about a lot of those, whether they're hard or soft skills, is that they are so transferable. And yeah, you can build so much up, whether it be 3 months or 6 months. You're so much further than you were when you started.
Yeah, completely.
So how was the role that you took unexpected for you? I know that you kind of mentioned before that it wasn't something that you would have gone for, if you just seen it kind of online or whatever, then you wouldn't have looked at it twice. Like, how was it, what were you kind of thinking you would go for, and then, how did it turn out?
Yeah, so I think there's kind of two sides to this. I think one, I would have necessarily gone for something, something that I had no experience of, or I didn't think that I would go to something where it was so kind of people facing. Like I enjoyed talking to people, so that's like something I enjoyed, but I didn't think that my first job would be like that. I thought I would maybe go to something that was more admin based, or something that was quite clerical or secretarial, maybe just to gain kind of basic office experience. So that was why it was quite different for me in the first place, because I was really like put in a position of responsibility, which I ended up actually loving. And it gave me so much more confidence that I was trusted, like, and given so much responsibility from the start. But I also, so that was why I guess it was a bit unexpected for me. But once I kind of got the job, and once I'd read more on the job and had my interview and found out more about the company, I kind of had a moment to myself, or a conversation with myself, where I was like, look, just embrace this experience. You don't know what's going to come from it. You don't know whether you're going to like it or not. It's your first postgraduate job. It's your first kind of proper experience of the working world. Just say yes, do your best, like try your best, try and just get the most out of it as you can, because like I just said, you're being given quite a lot of responsibility, and you're being put in a really fun environment. And it's not just, I mean, I don't know, because it's a first grad job that I did, but I think it's quite a cool job compared to a lot of other graduate jobs that there are, or maybe not cool, maybe just different, or a bit more personable. So that's why I kind of decided to do. I decided just to jump in at the deep end and just really embrace the environment, and embrace the fact that I didn't know what was coming for me. and just think, like I said before, if I love it, that's amazing. If I don't love it, then I've learned a lesson.
Yeah, it's especially I think as a fresh grad, it's a process of trial and error, and it's fine to try different things. You could do 3 or 6 months here and there as you figure out what you want to do.
Yeah,
So,
completely.
so what advice would you give students who are feeling lost or feeling like they were in the position you were in, where they don't know where to start and they're just nervous and lost?
Yeah, so I'd say my first thing would be just to calm down and take a step back. Congratulate yourself that you got through university, that you've studied for 3 or 4, maybe 5 years. Like, that's an achievement. That's you proving to yourself that you're able to do things and have responsibility. And also, again, you've transitioned from school to university, so you will transition from university to the workplace. So I'd say, first of all, stay calm, because I definitely didn't stay calm. I definitely let it all get to me when it really shouldn't have. The second thing I would say is to look, like I mentioned earlier, look for jobs in places you might not think about. Tell your friends, tell your family, ask people in the year above you who've maybe just graduated that you might know through societies or whatever. Ask them how they got their job, ask them where they looked and how they applied. Just think a bit more outside of the box if you're in my position and you don't know what you want to do, because you might stumble across something, or someone might recommend you something and you might not have thought of it, and it might be great for you. So I'd say step 2, think outside the box. And then my third piece of advice would be to look for internships and look for short-term contracts. Again, if you're in my position and you're unsure of what you want to do, because they're a great way to test things out. They're a great way to try things out commitment free, and they can lead on to some great career moves, and also give you a chance to sample loads of different companies. And then finally, my final piece of advice would be, like I said earlier, again, just to embrace it, just to say yes. Like, if you do manage to get a 3-month role or an internship or whatever kind of short-term role, I think the way you get the most out of it is just to say yes to everything. So, for example, if you are an intern, you might be asked to do tasks by loads of different people. So I would just say yes to all of them. Try and be as helpful as possible. Not only will you gain loads out of it, but the people around you will gain loads out of it as well, and really think of you as a great employee, which you will be. So yeah, I would say, just even if you have to just sit down and have a talk with yourself, or look in the mirror before you go on your first day of work, and remind yourself that you can do it, and just to say yes to everything. I think that would be my biggest piece of advice.
I think that's really good advice. And I think more than anything, it's great to have your employers appreciate you, because whether or not you stay for 3 or 6 months, you want to leave with a glowing review. So if you do say yes to everything, they'll be like, wow, this person did more than I expected them to. They helped out when they didn't necessarily need to. It wasn't in their job scope, but they did everything.
Yeah, completely. And like I said, you'll gain from that situation, because they'll think highly of you. Your employees and your managers will gain. So yeah, it's just, for me, it's the best attitude to have towards work. Yeah.
So I just have one last question. Do you think, looking back, I know that you said you stuck your head in the sand. You kind of, like, looking back at your university journey, you're like, oh, I should have started earlier. Maybe I should have done an internship during my university time. Because, I mean, for me, one thing that I've learned is that, like, in terms of changing jobs anyway, is that it's never good to look when you don't have anything else to do, because it's so stressful. Whereas if you're looking while you're kind of doing something else on the side, so it doesn't take up your whole time.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I completely agree. Looking back, I think I would have benefited so much from doing an internship, whether that had been as part of my degree, or whether that had just been, not just been, but had been in the summers between years. I think for me personally, the reason I didn't do an internship is because I kind of just thought of internships as like the things you see in, this may be a bit silly, but things you see in movies, or the things that you hear about where someone gets like this really competitive summer internship. And I just didn't feel confident enough to go for those kind of internships. But they can be as simple as a month helping a small business out over the summer, or a few weeks in a startup, or helping one company with one specific project that they have, and they just need an extra pair of hands. Like, all of those things are internships. They don't always have to be these super competitive sought after internships that you hear about. So yeah, I really I don't want to say regret, but I, looking back, if I could change things, I would really have done an internship, even just one in the summer where I didn't have much going on. Because I think, one, I think it would have made me way less calm in my final year, and two, most likely it would have I would have done something that I either loved or didn't love, and again, that would have just helped me get one step closer to finding out what I want to do.
Definitely. Yeah, in terms of like gaining skills, but also kind of just like crossing off what you like and what you don't like, because it takes time. Stuff takes time.
So much time, yeah.
Well, thanks, Molly. Thank you for sharing your story with us. Obviously, I already knew the story, but I'm glad that we got to share it with our viewers, because I think it is an inspirational story. You basically started working right after you graduated. You obviously impressed the people at Job Choosers so much that they kept you on. And then even though your travels, which unfortunately got cut short, they were desperate to have you back. So obviously you are a good employee, Molly, and someone who can give great advice. So yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in to this Meet the Graduate. And until next time, stay safe.
Bye, everyone.